Well, during that same news conference, Governor Little was asked about the extraordinary legislative session he is expected to call later this month, specifically about COVID protocols and how that special session would be conducted with health and safety in mind. What about masks at the Capitol? Would the governor then be all about the mandate? Joe Paris asked Governor Little that question, and he had a few more for Republican and Democrat leaders about where lawmakers stand when it comes to COVID guidelines.
The transmissible moments that exist over there are going to have to be addressed. How do they do a roll call? How do they do the spacing?
Almost immediately after Governor Brad Little announced his intention to call a special legislative session in a few weeks, questions were asked about how the legislators from across the state could meet safely as Idaho continues to battle COVID-19.
We're learning, as the science evolves, we're learning how to do this. And if they do the right thing, they should be okay.
Doing the right thing implies the use of face masks and social distancing. For weeks, Governor Little has asked Idahoans to mask up. When asked about his guidance to lawmakers during a news conference earlier, he had this to say.
I think it's good practice. I don't dare stand here and not say it's good practice with Dr. Hahn looking over my shoulder.
As Governor Little explains, though, the legislators are in control of their rules inside the State House.
They have jurisdiction over the 3 floors in the Capitol. That's their right. They've had lots of discussions.
The subjects for a special session are, as the Constitution says, up to the governor.
Like everyone else, Majority Caucus Chair Megan Blanksma is waiting for official word on what the special session will cover exactly, but she says there is a good indication of where it's headed.
They're interested in some elections issues and also liability issues for businesses and for schools with relation to COVID.
Of course, also on lawmakers' agendas, keeping the Capitol a safe and healthy environment with COVID protocols.
I know that was a discussion that we had with Republican House leadership last night. The speaker is trying to figure out a way to make sure that everybody's comfortable and safe. And so we have multiple options right now to make sure that can happen.
I'm concerned about the safety of legislators, the public, the staff, everybody.
Senate Minority Caucus Chair Marianne Jordan says Democrats are also focused on creating a safe state house.
Our leadership in our minority caucus will be reaching out to the leadership in the majority caucus and trying to get some confirmation on safety protocols and what might be in place to keep everyone safe.
It's been pointed out by many that in Boise and Ada County, where the state capitol is located, there are currently health orders mandating masks and also limiting gatherings to 50 people or less in private and public settings. A spokesperson for Governor Little explains, though, the Capitol, while in city limits, is property of the state of Idaho, so not all of Boise's ordinances would be enforceable inside.
It's kind of splitting hairs when, in fact, we're not talking about whose building it is. We're talking about a virus that can permeate anywhere you go if you're gathering people all over one place.
Yeah, COVID knows no boundaries, basically, and Marianne Jordan was one of those that opted to leave early at the end of last session. But, Joe, are there other options? I mean, why can't they not meet in person?
Well, right now, Brian, under Idaho law, there's no provision for lawmakers to meet on the legislative floor or to take votes remotely. That is something that was tossed around at the end of the last legislative session in March, but it went nowhere. Now, alternatively, when I was talking with Representative Blanksma this afternoon, she pointed out that if there are lawmakers that are uncomfortable going to the state capitol, they can have somebody go in for them. They can have somebody make their votes for them. And Blanksma telling me from her experience when she was out of town and she had to have someone cast a vote for her, she was in close contact with them, making sure they voted the way that she would, because at the end of the day, that person would represent that lawmaker.
And very quickly, Joe, just to clarify, this would just be one day, is that correct?
Well, you know, Brian, it doesn't have to be just one day. And when I was talking with lawmakers, they're under the impression that because there's a few different things that'll likely be in the scope of the special session, this could happen over 1 or 2 or 3 days. It's really a matter of how much business they get done and really what that agenda is set for. But, Brian, no, it won't necessarily just be one day.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you very much, Joe.